Coming up on Network Africa, 11 soldiers killed, 50 civilians missing following a suspected jihadist attack on a convoy in Burkina Faso. New satellite images show troops believed to be from the Eritrean army near the Tigray-Eritrea border. Plus, the Democratic Republic of Congo declares an end to its latest Ebola virus outbreak. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Olaride. We begin in Burkina Faso, where the government says at least 11 soldiers have been killed and 50 civilians are missing after armed fighters attacked a 150-vehicle military-escorted convoy that was taking supplies to a northern town. In a statement, the government said the assault took place on Monday in the commune of Gaskinde in Somme province, where armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the ISIS group have been escalating attacks and seizing territory since 2015. Some 28 people, including 20 soldiers, were wounded, while dozens of trucks were destroyed. Violence has raged in Burkina Faso since Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba seized power in a coup in January, toppling the West African country's elected leader and promising to rein in the armed groups. As in neighboring countries, fighters affiliated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS have stoked the unrest, even after Damiba earlier this month sacked his defense minister and assumed the role himself. A spokesperson for the Congolese army says at least 22 people have been killed after 2 Ugandan army helicopters crashed in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The Ugandan army has begun an investigation into the crash, with Brigadier General Felix Kulaigye, the spokesperson for the Uganda People's Defense Forces, saying the army has appointed a 12-team member. The chopper crashed as it took off shortly after delivering food and other essential items to soldiers currently fighting alongside Congolese forces against the Ugandan rebel group, the ADF, Allied Democratic Force rebels. The 2 soldiers, however, said to have survived without any injuries after they jumped out of the helicopter. The head of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, says that the 164-member body can negotiate more ambitious deals, such as on agriculture, climate change and internal reform, by the next time of its next major meeting. It's after concluding a series of trade deals in June. All the agreements are the first for the trade watchdog in years and includes a fishing deal and one to boost supplies of COVID-19 vaccines, although there are many compromises and some areas remain unresolved. Well, Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala made this known at the opening of a forum at the WTO's Geneva headquarters, adding that she hopes for deals on some topics by the next ministerial meeting, due no later than March 2024.
That the pandemic is over, and what the implications.
And I do believe that this will provide a basis for more confidence that we can do multilateral work together. We can have success. Global solidarity is very frayed at the moment. And the fact that we're able to show that there can still be global solidarity at the WTO, that we can still come to important agreements multilaterally, I think provides a basis for hope that we can move forward and look at other difficult issues. I also hope that at MC13, we will be able to deliver slices of the WTO reform agenda. We'll probably be able to deliver some work on the 3 core functions and maybe focus on issues of our dispute settlement system. We're very worried about all the indicators because the outlook is on the downside, which we had actually predicted. We're right in the middle of revising our forecast now, but it's not looking very promising. So it's most likely that we're going to be seeing, all the indicators are pointing to downside numbers. I wish we could have finished the revision, but we're literally in the middle of it, but it's not looking too great. I think the trend is in that direction. It's very worrying, the high energy prices that we see in Europe, the high food prices all around the world. In fact, it's high energy prices everywhere, high food prices. And the likelihood that that might continue into the next year because of worries about availability of fertilizer and other inputs for next year's planting season. So grosso modo, I think that the outlook is it's looking a bit gloomy.
A leading rights group campaigning against torture says the law enforcement agents and militias in Libya have killed at least 581 civilians between the start of the year 2020 and March this year. The World Organization Against Torture says the number of those killed include people executed in detention facilities or tortured to death. The report is the first to focus on extrajudicial killings in Libya and is based on a 2-year investigation carried out by Libyan civil society organizations, which interviewed survivors and witnesses. The report says that the cases it was able to document are only the tip of the iceberg. Well, in this next video, you're seeing the mobilization of military forces in towns either side of Ethiopia's northern border with Eritrea. In new satellite images released by a private U.S. company, the satellite images taken after a 5-month ceasefire that collapsed at the end of August could not be immediately verified, but according to Maxa Technologies, these pictures taken on September 26 show military forces, vehicles and artillery positions in the town of Shiraro, near Tigray's northern border with Eritrea. Well, on September 13, Tigrayan forces had said Eritrean troops fighting alongside Ethiopian soldiers had at one point taken control of Shiraro, but suggested they had been beaten back. They've also accused Eritrea of shelling Tigrayan towns from its territory in recent weeks. Forces in the northern Tigray region have been fighting Ethiopia's federal army and its allies, including Eritrean troops, over the course of a nearly 2-year war. Climate change is not a respecter of borders and boundaries or political election cycles. However, it does impact the lives of people globally. Now, this is according to the Executive Secretary of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, Simon Steele, who says the world needs an approach of collective responsibility. Well, he made this known on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York last week, even as the 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, will be held from the 6th to 18th of November 2022 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
Climate change does not respect borders and boundaries. It doesn't respect political election cycles. But what it does do, it impacts the lives of people globally. So I think taking that approach of collective responsibility and doing what needs to be done, and it's not just from a moral perspective, it's not just from an ecological perspective, it's also good business. It makes good business sense, and the cost of inaction is far greater than the cost of action. So the need to adapt to this changing environment is number one priority, certainly for those climate vulnerable countries. But as the temperature continues to drift up, there are limits to what you can adapt to. And that is where loss and damage then kicks in. How do you protect yourself against a Category 5 hurricane? What you then focus on is how do you minimize the damages and have the mechanisms in place so that you can build back better, you can recover far faster, minimize loss of life, minimize loss of damage to infrastructure. But that damage is there.
Or speaking of the impact of climate change, no fewer than 14 persons are said to have lost their lives following a devastating flood that submerged houses, schools, farmlands and worship centers in 12 local government areas of Taraba State here in Nigeria. Well, the flooding followed a heavy downpour which lasted for hours in the affected local government areas of the state.
What used to be people's homes, markets and access roads is now turned to a river path. Livestock, business centers, vehicles, worship centers, farmlands and schools are not spared as flooding overruns communities in 12 local government areas of Taraba State. The downpour lasted for hours and residents could only watch helplessly as the flood waters take over. 14 people lost their lives when their homes were washed away. Affected residents now seek shelter elsewhere, but getting around is no child's play, with canoes as the only mode of transportation.
Falling down now, I say, okay, let me just carry my children out. So we take them out. They are there in the neighboring house. So at the time I was trying to bring out some animals. Then I can see that the water is like overflowing, it's entering. So we try to come out. I can't continue because I can't predict what will happen next time. So we just rush out and leave them inside like that.
Our local government is one of those local governments that have been affected greatly by the flood. Because we are living in the river bank, and most of my people are living in the river bank. About 5 wards have been affected by a flood. As I'm telling you, they don't have a place to lay their no food, nothing whatsoever. The government facility that they are there, they were using it, and the water have already taken place, taking all the government facilities. They are stranded as I'm talking to you.
According to local government authorities, adequate sensitization was given to residents living around flood-prone areas to evacuate in response to NIMET's predictions and directives.
We have passed that information in our meeting. I have given the councillors in all the 10 wards to inform those who are in the riverine area. They should relocate because of the rain. You know, our people, they tell them something like that, they don't take it serious. They assume maybe it may not happen. But we have told them earlier, even this area that are affected, we have told them early this year that they should relocate.
As temporary relief to those affected, the Taraba State government is distributing food and non-food items to victims.
Contact has been made with Northeast Development Commission. We are making contact with Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, and also, of course, their subsidiary NEMA and other donor agencies. But we are not, while we are waiting for their assistance, this is the effort of the state government. At the moment, we are in touch with all the chairmen, the caretaker chairmen of the local governments affected. They, in turn, have mobilized their councillors. We know that the victims of this flood, they live in particular wards. So whatever we do, it will be accompanied by both staff from our office and the chairman of the local government and the councillors of the wards that are affected. We want to be sure that these food items and non-food items get to the individuals who are affected.
Nevertheless, residents say they still live in fear of continued rainfall, worried that this disaster may not have an end in sight soon.
Still ahead on the program. Malawian Baptist preacher and Pan-Africanist John Chilembwe, who fought against British colonial rule, is honored with a statue in London's Trafalgar Square. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. The trial of former Guinean dictator Musa Camara opens this Wednesday in Conakry, and this is coming 13 years to the day since the massacre that killed more than 150 people at a political rally in the capital. Well, on Tuesday, the former dictator and another five defendants were sent to prison by the appeal court. However, Mr. Camara's lawyers have denounced the move. Despite recurring commitments under former President Alpha Conde's regime, victims and relatives have been waiting for justice for 13 years. An international commission found that in 2009, 156 people were killed and thousands injured during opposition protests. More than 100 women were raped. Witnesses said the security forces blocked the stadium and shot people or killed them with knives, but Mr. Camara has denied these allegations. He had been living in exile in Burkina Faso, but returned to Conakry on Saturday night to stand trial. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo is being accused of using a musician's work without permission or credit to advertise the country to tourists. Ghanaian musician Kirani Ayat says he had reached out to the government for support before shooting his Gouda music video, but he was turned down. The video was shot in northern Ghana and features scenic views and showcases the local culture. Well, Mr. Ayat lashed out at the president after he shared a promo video because scenes in the musician's video featuring women posing on top of a giant tree and others dancing have been featured in the tourism advert. Well, the government is yet to respond to the copyright allegations. However, Ghanaians on social media have encouraged the musician to sue the government for copyright infringement. Well, joining us now for more on this is Maxwell Agbagba, Joy News TV correspondent in Accra. Hello, Maxwell. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, Lai.
Well, help us understand this story further. What more details can you tell us?
Well, it started yesterday, World Tourism Day, when the president of the country, his Twitter handle, actually posted a video promoting Ghana and encouraging people to visit Ghana. Now, excerpts of that video that his Twitter handle posted had parts of northern Ghana, as shown, showcased in that music video by Kirat Ayani. So that was what, triggered the conversation. So the musician actually went on Twitter to retweet the video and said that in the year 2018-2019, he was actively engaging Ghana's Ministry of Tourism to support the filming of that video, which shows part of northern Ghana. But he did not receive any support from Ghana's Ministry of Tourism. And he talked about how he had to work a 12-hour shift, 7 days, a week for 3 months just to raise the needed funds to fund that particular video. And he is not particularly amused at all because he was not contacted, was not given any prior information and his permission. The government also did not get his permission before they used assets of that music video in that promo video projecting Ghana and encouraging tourists to visit the country.
Well, these are allegations of, copyright infringement against the head of state. Have we had any comments from the president or perhaps the tourism ministry?
We've not had any comments from Ghana's presidency. What we've heard is from Ghana's tourism authority, the Ghana Tourism Authority, and they are saying that they had express permission to use that video, and they used that video sometime in 2019. And a creative agency was actually engaged and contracts were signed for parts of that video, for that promo that the president, Twitter handle shared, to be used. So in 2019, they talked about how they used it for both international and local events. It says all documents, all papers have been signed to that regard. in it saying that because it engaged the third party to do the project, now it would have to go back to the creative agency to find out from them how come this situation, is coming about. So it has promised that it will be engaging the third party that was contracted to do the promo video. But the musician also came back after that statement was released by the Ghana Tourism Authority, and he says that he has not given his express permission to any third party for his video to be used in that promo content that we saw. And he's demanding to see the documents that were signed with that agency, which allowed them to use assets of his video for that promo project line.
All right, finally, Maxwell, how are ordinary Ghanaians reacting to this?
Well, many of them are urging the artist on to take on the government and to demand what is due him. They say that for a very long time, Ghanaians in the creative arts industry have not had credit, they've not had the necessary acknowledgement, given to them, with people just taking advantage of their work. In the last 2 hours, one of Ghana's top musicians, Sarkodie, has tweeted in support of the artist, and he's saying that although persons in the creative arts industry do a lot to project the country, and which translates into money and investments, they don't get the needed support, especially for government. And he's saying that he's throwing his weight behind the artist, especially if he contacted the Ministry of Tourism and did not get the needed support back in 2018, 2019 live.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Maxwell Agbagba, Joy News TV correspondent.
You're welcome. Bye.
Well, the Democratic Republic of Congo has declared an end to its latest Ebola virus outbreak. The outbreak, the 15th recorded in the country, emerged when one case was confirmed in the eastern city of Beni in North Kivu province on the 22nd of August. Well, according to the World Health Organization, this outbreak is the virus's least catastrophic since no other case was recorded. Well, the Lagos State government says it has empowered over 65,000 women through the Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation Scheme. The state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, made this comment at the 2022 Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation Program held at the Lagos Continental Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos.
It's the 2022 Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation Program of the Lagos State government. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Executive Council members, and other dignitaries converged on the Lagos Continental Hotel, Victoria Island, to support and celebrate those they describe as emerging total women. The commissioner in charge of Women Affairs Ministry explains what the state government is doing to reduce poverty.
Our mandate from the Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation remains building resourceful women in order to improve the lives of female residents, as Lagos State has zero tolerance to idleness of any form.
The guest speaker, Mrs. Hassanatu Adegbite, is the Executive Director of Women in Management, Business and Public Service, and she encourages women to remain steadfast in whatever they engage in to achieve their dreams.
When you have an opportunity, it has a time limit. Don't waste it. Make a significant impact. Let your story be told. Let generations hit their chest and say, because of you, I am where I am today.
Can I hear a woman's...
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu assures the people of improving the welfare of women and raising their capacity to become self-sufficient.
In all of the grants that we give out, 60 to 65% of them, we deliberately ensure that, are women. They're not just vulnerable. They're people that we need to especially take care of. And that's what we're doing. This is a sure path to attaining our full growth and development potentials as a state. It is also a testament to the policy of inclusiveness, which our administration is ever committed to and always ensuring that we'll keep to it.
And the word of assurance for those waiting to benefit from the state empowerment program.
We have 19 skills acquisition centers where women, youth, men, and anybody living in Lagos State can walk into and learn a skill. The duration ranges from 6 months to 12 months, and we have a 4-week short-term skills training. And all of these trainings are free of charge.
So far, over 65,000 women have been empowered since the administration of Governor Sanwo-Olu, and the state government promises to do more for the people of the state.
A new statue has been unveiled in central London's historic Trafalgar Square. It's the statue of Malawian Baptist preacher and Pan-Africanist John Chilembwe, who fought against British colonial rule. Mr. Chilembwe was widely acknowledged as one of the first Africans to fight against colonial injustices in the 20th century, staging an uprising against the British in Malawi in 1915. And that's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.